I never thought I would be the kind of guy to share my personal life on a platform like this, but here I am, pouring my heart out in hopes of finding some clarity. My name is Mark, and for the better part of a decade, I thought I had a perfect life. I was married to a beautiful woman named Jessica, who was not only my wife but also my best friend. We lived in a nice suburban neighborhood, and on the surface, everything seemed perfect. But as I later discovered, appearances can be incredibly deceiving. Jessica was charming, always the life of the party, and had a talent for making friends wherever she went. I was proud of her for that, but I now realized that this charm had a darker side. You see, for a while, I noticed little things that seemed off about her, subtle changes that I brushed aside. She started getting home later from work, claiming she was stuck in meetings. Her phone began buzzing at odd hours, and she would suddenly become secretive about her messages. I tried to brush it off, convincing myself that it was just the stress of work and life. But deep down, I knew something was brewing. The first real wake-up call came one Friday evening when I decided to surprise her with dinner. I got home early and was in the kitchen prepping her favorite dish. As I was chopping vegetables, I caught a glimpse of her phone lighting up on the table. Curiosity got the better of me and I picked it up. There it was, a message from someone named Jake. My heart raced as I read the exchange. They were talking about meeting up and the flirtation was evident. My gut twisted as I read through it, each message piercing deeper into my chest. The last line sent me spiraling. "Can't wait to see you tonight. You know how much I want you." I felt sick. It was as if the ground had vanished beneath my feet. I never imagined Jessica would betray me like this, especially not with someone I considered a friend and mentor, Jake. He was the one who had helped me land my first job and had always been there to support me in my career. The betrayal ran deep, and the emotional impact hit me like a freight train. When Jessica walked through the door that night, I was still in shock. I confronted her immediately, my voice trembling with a mixture of anger and heartbreak. "Who is Jake, Jess?" I demanded, holding her phone like a weapon. Her face turned pale, and for a moment I thought she might actually confess. Instead, she burst into tears, claiming it was just a mistake and that I was overreacting. She said they were only friends and that I was being paranoid. It felt surreal to see her, the woman I loved, standing there lying straight to my face. I could see the panic in her eyes as she scrambled to come up with excuses. "You know how intense work has been lately," she said. "It was just a moment of weakness. I swear it meant nothing." But those words felt like venom and I could hardly breathe. Her words rang hollow. I could feel the betrayal wrapping around me like a noose. The confrontation took a toll on me. I spent that night wrestling with my emotions, anger, sadness, confusion, all colliding in a chaotic whirlwind. I tossed and turned, unable to find any peace. How could I trust her? Again, how could I ever look at her the same way? I felt lost and violated, like every ounce of love I had for her was twisted into doubt and pain. And the thought of Jake, my mentor, was just as sickening. The betrayal cut deeper when I realized the two of them had taken advantage of a bond that I thought was sacred. As the days passed, I found myself on an emotional roller coaster. One moment I was furious, wanting to confront Jake and unleash my rage. The next moment I was devastated, mourning the loss of my marriage and the life we had built together. I was stuck in limbo, oscillating between wanting to fight for my marriage and wanting to walk away from everything that had caused me so much pain. I finally made a decision. I needed to take control of my life, to rise above the betrayal that had shattered me. I wasn't just going to sit back and let this define me. I wanted to grow, to surpass both Jessica and Jake in ways they never imagined. I wanted to turn this betrayal into fuel for my success. But how? What would my next steps be? Stay tuned for the next part, as I share how I executed my plan for revenge and ultimately found a new path for myself. As I sat in the aftermath of my revelation, the pain of betrayal morphed into a burning desire for revenge and self-improvement. I knew I had to channel all this anger and heartbreak into something productive, something that would not only help me heal but also serve as a reminder to Jessica and Jake that I would rise above their betrayal. The first step. I needed to focus on myself. After the confrontation, I took a few days off work. I couldn't bear the idea of facing my colleagues, especially Jake. The thought of seeing him was unbearable, and I wanted to avoid that confrontation until I was ready. Instead, I threw myself into self-reflection. I started journaling my thoughts and feelings, an outlet to get everything off my chest. It helped me process the whirlwind of emotions I was experiencing: the anger, the sadness, the humiliation. Writing became my therapy. In those journal pages, I started to sketch out a plan for my future. I recalled the passion I once had for my career, the dreams I had shelved while trying to build a happy life with Jessica. It was time to rekindle that flame. I signed up for a series of professional development courses to hone my skills and expand my knowledge, something I had put off for far too long while supporting Jessica in her ambitions. I realized that I needed to invest in myself, not just to get back at them, but to reclaim my identity. The first class I signed up for was in digital marketing. As I dove into the material, I felt invigorated. The thrill of learning something new filled me with a sense of purpose. I started networking with others in the field, attending seminars, and reaching out to mentors who could guide me. The more I immersed myself in this new world, the more I felt like I was shedding the old Mark, the one who had allowed himself to be used as a doormat. Meanwhile, I kept my distance from Jessica. Initially, she tried to reach out, expressing remorse and pleading for my forgiveness. I didn't respond. I needed space to think, to breathe, and to evaluate what I truly wanted. I began to realize that the more I focused on my own growth, the less I wanted to go back to the life we had. Months passed and I had transformed. I was no longer the guy who sat at home waiting for his wife to return from whatever late-night affair she concocted. I was becoming someone entirely different, a man who was taking charge of his life, someone who wouldn't settle for less than he deserved. I started hitting the gym regularly, adopting a healthier lifestyle, which not only helped me physically but mentally as well. Working out became an escape, a way to channel my frustration into energy. I also started to gain traction in my professional life. The skills I was learning led to an unexpected opportunity. One of my instructors at the digital marketing course recognized my potential and offered me an internship at a company he was consulting for. I jumped at the chance, eager to prove my worth and make a name for myself. During this time, I got wind of Jessica and Jake. They were still together, parading their relationship around town like it was some grand achievement. I would hear snippets from mutual friends or on social media. Seeing Jessica flaunting her new life made my blood boil, but then I recalled the courses, the workouts, the growth I was experiencing. Their relationship felt like ancient history, a reminder of everything I had escaped. One evening, after a long day at the internship, I found myself watching a documentary about successful entrepreneurs who had risen from adversity. Their stories resonated with me, igniting a fire within me. I realized that my revenge wouldn't be through confrontation or petty retaliation. No, my revenge would be in my success. I wanted to be the one who flourished, who thrived despite their betrayal. As the months rolled on, I was no longer just Mark, the betrayed husband. I was Mark, the aspiring digital marketer, the fit and energetic man who had taken control of his life. I had plans to launch my own digital marketing agency, fueled by the knowledge I was gathering and the connections I was making. I could feel the momentum building. However, I knew I had to confront Jessica eventually, if only for closure. I was ready to face her, not out of anger but as a man who had regained his confidence. I wanted her to see who I had become and for her to realize what she had lost. I had no idea how that confrontation would go, but I was prepared. Things were changing, and I was ready to embrace the new chapter of my life. The thought of seeing Jessica and Jake didn't scare me anymore. It only fueled my desire to continue climbing higher. But I still had one final step to take before I could completely move on. Let's see what happens in the confrontation and how it ultimately shapes my journey going forward. After months of transformation, I had steeled myself for the moment I knew was inevitable, the confrontation with Jessica. I had spent countless hours pondering how it would go, imagining every possible scenario. Would she be remorseful? Would she try to gaslight me again? In reality, I felt a strange mix of excitement and dread. I was no longer the meek husband she had betrayed. I was someone who had risen above, and I wanted her to see that. I decided to arrange a meeting in a neutral location, a coffee shop that we used to frequent. It felt fitting. I had fond memories of our time there, and now I would reclaim it as a space for resolution. I texted her, requesting to meet. To my surprise, she agreed without hesitation, and I could sense her eagerness, perhaps thinking I would be easy to manipulate again. Little did she know I had changed. That Saturday morning, I arrived at the cafe early. The smell of freshly brewed coffee intertwined with the chatter of patrons, and I felt a sense of calm wash over me. I had come a long way, and I was ready to face her. When Jessica walked in, I could see a flicker of nostalgia in her eyes. She looked the same, but I was not the same man she had left behind. "Mark, you look great," she said, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Thanks, Jess, you too," I replied, keeping my tone neutral. We sat down, and I could feel the tension thickening the air between us. I wanted to meet to talk about us, about everything. She nodded, her expression shifting as she prepared to defend herself. "I've thought about this a lot, Mark. I know I messed up, but it was a mistake. I want to make things right." "Do you?" I asked, leaning forward slightly. "Because it doesn't feel that way. You jumped into a relationship with Jake, a man I trusted and admired. How can I believe anything you say?" Her face fell, and for a moment I saw vulnerability flicker across her features. "It wasn't like that. I was confused. Things were tough between us. I thought I could find happiness elsewhere, but you didn't. You just hurt me," I interjected, my voice steady but firm. "You took advantage of everything we built to pursue a fleeting thrill. You didn't think about what you were throwing away." I could see the defenses going up again. "Mark, please, I can be better. We can work on this together. I love you." The words hung in the air, and in that moment I realized that love, as she defined it, felt hollow. "Do you know what love is?" I asked, my voice low. "It's not just a word you throw around when it's convenient. It's loyalty, trust, and respect. You shattered that." Jessica's eyes brimmed with tears, and for a moment I felt a pang of sympathy. But I quickly reminded myself of the betrayal, the heartbreak. I'm not here to discuss reconciliation. I've moved on from that life. I'm no longer defined by my marriage to you or by the betrayal of you and Jake. "Jake, you're still thinking about him," she shot back, the defenses rising again. "Why are you letting him dictate your feelings? This is about us." I took a deep breath. "No, Jess, this is about me taking control of my life. I am not going to be a victim anymore. I've focused on my growth, my career, and the person I am becoming. I want you to understand that." Her demeanor shifted again. She looked almost desperate. "You're angry, I get it, but you're going to regret this. We had something good." I shook my head, feeling a sense of finality wash over me. "What we had is gone. You chose to throw it away for a fleeting moment. I deserve someone who respects me, and I know now that's not you." The conversation continued, but I could see the realization dawning on her. This wasn't the same Mark she had manipulated before. I had grown, and I wasn't going to let her continue to play on my emotions. We wrapped up our meeting, and as we stood to leave, I looked her in the eyes one last time. "I hope you find what you're looking for, Jess. Just know that I'll be just fine without you." With that, I walked away, feeling an exhilarating mix of relief and empowerment. I had faced my past, confronted my betrayer, and emerged stronger. The heartbreak that once consumed me had transformed into a fierce determination to continue thriving. In the days that followed, I threw myself even deeper into my work. I had a fresh perspective now, fueled by the confrontation. My internship blossomed into a full-time job offer, and I was thrilled to accept. I was building my own path, one that Jessica and Jake would never be a part of. My newfound success brought opportunities I never imagined. I began to develop my own brand in digital marketing, garnering a reputation for my work ethic and innovative ideas. People started to take notice, and it felt good to have my efforts recognized. But as I climbed higher, there was an ever-present shadow of the past. I couldn't shake the feeling of wanting to show Jessica and Jake that I was more than what they had reduced me to. I wanted to surpass them, not just professionally, but in life. With every success, I felt a sense of revenge, but it was not just about them. I was proving it to myself, and that was the sweetest victory of all. The next chapter was unfolding, and I was ready to embrace it fully. I could feel the horizon expanding, and I was eager to see where it would lead me next. As the months rolled on and I continued to excel in my newfound career, I started realizing that my journey was far more than just about revenge against Jessica and Jake. It was about reclaiming my own narrative and living life on my own terms. I was no longer the person defined by betrayal. I was Mark, a man on a mission, and that mission was to thrive. As I settled into my new job, I found myself surrounded by a network of ambitious colleagues who inspired me daily. I was collaborating on exciting projects that pushed my creative boundaries. My skills in digital marketing were evolving, and I was beginning to see the fruits of my labor. For the first time in a long while, I felt a sense of belonging and purpose, but there was still a part of me that felt the need to confront the ghosts of my past. I had moved on from Jessica, but a lingering desire for closure tugged at me. I knew I had to address the emotional scars that remained, not just for her sake, but for mine. I reached out to a therapist, someone who could help me process everything I had been through. Talking to a professional about my experiences, my feelings, and even my anger was liberating. It allowed me to put everything in perspective. During one session, I shared my need for closure regarding Jessica and Jake. I don't want to dwell on the past, but I can't help thinking about how they must see me now, I admitted. I want them to know that I'm thriving without them. Closure isn't always about confrontation, my therapist replied thoughtfully. It's about finding peace within yourself. You've already proven your strength by moving forward and focusing on your own growth. Sometimes, the best way to show them is to live your life fully and without regret. That advice resonated deeply with me. I didn't need to confront them again. I just needed to continue living my life to the fullest. I had acquired a new job, new friends, and a renewed sense of self-worth. I was no longer the victim, but the victor. As my career progressed, I began to think about the future. I wanted to take my journey a step further by launching my own digital marketing agency. The thought excited me. I began formulating a business plan, drawing on everything I had learned from my mentors and colleagues. It was time to make my mark on the industry, and I was determined to do it my way. One evening, I sat down with a glass of bourbon, surrounded by notes and sketches for my business plan. I felt a mix of adrenaline and anxiety, both emotions that had fueled me for months. With each page I filled, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. I was creating something that was entirely mine, a testament to my growth and resilience. Around this time, I was invited to a networking event in the city centered on entrepreneurship and digital marketing. It was the perfect opportunity to meet potential clients and investors, and I was eager to showcase my vision. As I prepared for the event, I couldn't help but feel a sense of anticipation. This was my chance to shine, to exhibit everything I had worked for. The night of the event arrived, and I donned my best suit, confident in my achievements. The venue was bustling with professionals, all eager to make connections. As I mingled, I met some incredible people, each with unique stories and experiences. I shared my vision, and to my delight, people responded positively. I felt invigorated as I connected with like-minded individuals who shared my passion for innovation. But as the night wore on, I saw a familiar face across the room, Jake. My heart raced, and for a moment I froze. But then I remembered all the work I had put into becoming the man I was now. I wasn't going to let the past dictate my present. Gathering my composure, I walked over to him. He was surrounded by colleagues, laughing and enjoying himself. When he saw me approach, his smile faltered. "Mark," he said, his tone a mix of surprise and discomfort. "It's been a while." "It has," I responded, keeping my tone even. "How's everything?" "Good, really good," he replied, avoiding eye contact. The tension was palpable. I could feel the weight of all our shared history, the betrayal hanging thick in the air. I decided to break the ice. "I'm launching my own agency," I said, forcing a smile. "I've been working hard and I'm excited about the future." He tried to mask his shock, but I saw it. "That's great, man. You always had potential. I'm glad to hear it." "Thanks," I said, feeling a surge of satisfaction. "I think we all have the potential to grow, don't we?" The words were loaded and I could sense the implications sinking in. We exchanged pleasantries and I could feel his unease growing. It was almost satisfying to witness his discomfort. I was no longer the man he could look down upon, no longer the husband he had betrayed. I was thriving and he knew it. As I walked away from him, I felt a sense of triumph. I had confronted my past and emerged victorious. I didn't need to dwell on the hurt. I had turned it into something powerful. I was moving forward not just for myself, but as a testament to the strength that betrayal had unwittingly bestowed upon me. The next few weeks were a whirlwind of activity. I continued networking, building relationships, and refining my business plan. I was gaining traction, and the excitement of my impending agency launch fueled me daily. I felt unstoppable, and I was more determined than ever to prove that I could achieve success on my own terms. But in the back of my mind, I knew Jessica would eventually seek me out. I had left a mark on her, and I could sense that she would want to reestablish contact. I was ready. I would face her not as the man who had been betrayed, but as the man I had become, strong, confident, and full of vision. With each passing day, I continued to grow, and the horizon ahead of me was brighter than I had ever imagined. The journey was far from over, and I knew the next steps would shape my future in ways I had yet to discover. Let's keep moving forward. The next chapter is waiting to unfold. As my agency launch approached, I felt a whirlwind of excitement and nerves. I was pouring everything I had into this venture, and the anticipation was almost unbearable. I had secured a small office space, gathered a talented team of freelancers, and was preparing for our first major client pitch. I was ready to make my mark, to prove to myself and the world that I had risen above my past. But just as things were starting to take off, the inevitable happened. Jessica reached out. It was a simple text, one that sent my heart racing and my mind spinning. "Can we talk? I need to see you." I stared at the message for what felt like an eternity, emotions swirling within me. Part of me wanted to ignore her, the other part was curious. What could she possibly want after everything? After a moment of deliberation, I decided to respond. "Okay. Let's meet at the cafe we used to go to." I needed to confront this feeling head-on, and I wanted to do it on my terms. The day arrived, and I walked into the cafe feeling like a different man. I wasn't the broken husband she once knew. I was a man on a mission, empowered by my success and growth. When she walked in, I could see the nervousness in her demeanor. She looked the same, hair perfectly styled, makeup done, but there was an air of uncertainty about her that hadn't been there before. "Mark," she said softly as she approached the table, "thank you for meeting me." I nodded, gesturing for her to sit. "What did you want to talk about?" She took a deep breath, fidgeting with her hands. "I've been thinking a lot about what happened between us, about everything. I regret hurting you. I was selfish and I didn't appreciate what we had." I listened, allowing her to share her thoughts. "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I've been reflecting on my choices, and I realize how wrong I was to throw away our marriage for a moment of weakness. I miss you, Mark." Her words hung in the air, and for a moment I felt a flicker of something, perhaps nostalgia. But then I remembered the pain, the betrayal, and how far I had come. "Jessica, I've moved on. I've been focusing on myself, my career, and building something new. I can't go back to what we had." "I get that," she rushed to say, desperation creeping into her tone. "But I've changed. I want to be better and I want to make things right." "Making things right isn't just about saying you're sorry," I replied firmly. "It's about actions. You had your chance to be better when we were together and you chose differently. I can't erase that." Tears welled in her eyes and I felt a pang of sympathy, but I reminded myself that this was not about me feeling sorry for her. "I've discovered my own strength in all of this, Jess. I'm launching my own marketing agency and I'm excited about the future. I can't let the past hold me back." Her expression shifted and I could see the realization dawning on her. "You're really doing it," she whispered, almost in disbelief. "You're moving on." "Yes," I replied, feeling a sense of pride swell within me. "And I'm not looking back." The conversation continued, and while she expressed genuine remorse, I could sense a hint of jealousy in her tone as she asked about my life now. I shared my progress, the excitement bubbling beneath the surface as I spoke about my agency and the wonderful team I was building. I could see her visibly grappling with the realization that I was thriving without her. "I wish things could have been different," she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper. "So do I admitted, leaning back in my chair. "But we can't change the past. All we can do is learn from it." I felt resolute in my decision to keep moving forward. As we wrapped up our meeting, I felt a sense of closure begin to settle in. I wasn't angry anymore. I was simply grateful for the lessons learned. I stood up to leave, and as I turned to walk away, I looked back one last time. "I hope you find your path too, Jessica. Just know that I won't be a part of it anymore." With that, I walked out of the cafe, feeling lighter than I had in years. The weight of our past had finally lifted, and I was ready to embrace the future without any lingering shadows. The days that followed were filled with anticipation as I prepared for the launch of my agency. The excitement in the air was palpable as my team, and I put the finishing touches on our presentation for our first major client pitch. We had been working tirelessly, and I could feel the momentum building. Finally, the day of the pitch arrived. I dressed sharply, feeling confident and ready to showcase everything we had worked for. As I stood in front of the client, presenting our vision and strategy, I could see the interest in their eyes. I spoke with passion and conviction, and my team rallied behind me, supporting every word. When the meeting concluded, the client seemed impressed. They expressed interest in moving forward with us, and I felt a surge of triumph. This was it, the moment I had been working toward, and it felt incredible to know that I was building something from the ground up. Later that evening, I celebrated with my team. We raised our glasses to our hard work and the successful pitch, laughter and joy enveloping us. In that moment, I realized that this was what true success felt like, not just in business but in life. I had transformed every ounce of pain into strength, and it had led me to this moment. As I looked around at the people who had become my new support system, I couldn't help but feel grateful. I was no longer haunted by the past. I was living in the present and building a future filled with promise. The chapter with Jessica and Jake had closed, but this new chapter was just beginning. I was ready to seize every opportunity that came my way, driven by the lessons learned and the strength gained from my journey. I was Mark, the man who had risen from the ashes, and I was just getting started. With my agency on the rise and my confidence at an all-time high, I couldn't wait to see where this journey would lead next. The horizon ahead was bright, and I was ready to embrace it fully. The final piece of the journey awaited, and I was eager to share how it all culminated. As the weeks rolled into months, my agency continued to thrive. We secured more clients, expanded our team, and I felt invigorated by the pace of growth and the creative freedom I had longed for. I was fully immersed in my work and reveling in the newfound sense of purpose. Each project we tackled felt like a testament to my resilience and determination to rise above the past. But amidst the professional success, there was still a part of me that carried the scars of betrayal. I had moved on, but I knew that healing was a journey, not a destination. I made it a point to check in with my therapist regularly, ensuring I was processing everything appropriately. One day, during a session, I reflected on how far I had come. "You've transformed a painful experience into a powerful narrative," my therapist said, nodding at my revelation. "You've taken control of your life in a way that many people struggle to do. It's an inspiring story." "It doesn't feel that way all the time," I admitted. "Sometimes I still think about what happened. I wonder if there are lingering feelings I need to confront." "Thinking about it is natural," she replied. "But it's important to recognize that those thoughts don't define you anymore. You've created a new life, a new identity. Focus on that growth." That conversation resonated deeply with me. I realized that while the past was a part of my story, it no longer dictated my future. I had taken the lessons learned and turned them into a foundation for something great. As I settled into my routine, I received an unexpected call one day. It was Jessica. My heart raced as I hesitated, contemplating whether to answer. I took a deep breath and decided to pick up. "Mark, hi," she started, her voice tentative. "I know this is out of the blue, but I wanted to congratulate you on your agency. I've heard great things." I felt a mix of emotions at her words. "Thank you, Jess, I appreciate it," I replied cautiously. I just wanted to say that I really am sorry for what happened between us. I've been doing a lot of soul searching. I realize now how much I took for granted," she continued. "I miss the friendship we had." Her apology was sincere, but I was still cautious. "I appreciate you reaching out, but I think it's important to acknowledge that we're in different places now. I've moved on and I'm focused on my future." "I understand," she said softly. "I just wanted you to know that I'm happy for you. You deserve all the success you're achieving." "I'm glad to hear that," I said, feeling a sense of closure wash over me. "I wish you all the best too, Jess." After hanging up, I felt an unexpected surge of relief. That chapter of my life was finally closed and I could look back on it without bitterness. I had worked hard to let go, and now it felt complete. As the year came to an end, I threw a launch party for my agency, inviting colleagues, clients, and friends. It was a celebration of not just my business, but of the journey that had brought me here. My team and I had worked tirelessly, and I wanted to acknowledge their contributions as well. The venue was vibrant, filled with laughter and excitement. I took a moment to step back and soak it all in: the happiness, the camaraderie, the sense of achievement. I had done it. I had risen from the ashes of betrayal and built something meaningful. During my speech that night, I took the opportunity to reflect on my journey. Tonight is a celebration of growth, resilience, and new beginnings. We all face challenges in life, but it's how we respond that defines us. I'm grateful for every lesson, every setback, because they've led me here with all of you. As I looked out at the crowd, I saw faces filled with encouragement and support. I felt a sense of belonging that I hadn't experienced in a long time. I was surrounded by people who believed in me, and it was a powerful feeling. The evening continued with laughter, music, and dancing. I felt lighter than I had in years, free from the constraints of my past. I embraced the joy of the moment, knowing that I had created something special. As the night wound down, I couldn't help but reflect on the journey that had brought me to this point. Betrayal had once broken me, but it had also paved the way for my ultimate growth. I learned the importance of resilience, the strength in vulnerability, and the power of self-discovery. With a sense of peace, I stepped outside for a breath of fresh air, gazing up at the stars. Life was full of surprises, and while I could never predict what would come next, I was ready to face it head-on. I had learned that true success wasn't just about professional achievements. It was about finding joy in the journey and embracing every moment. I was ready for whatever the future held, knowing that I had the strength to navigate it all. No matter what challenges came my way, I would face them with courage and a renewed sense of self. After all, I was Mark, a man who had turned pain into purpose, and I was just getting started.